All right. Good afternoon. My name is Lance Luke. Thank you for coming to hear me talk BS. In this case, BS means building safety. So I saw an article that a reporter wrote promoting this seminar, and the title headline read, National Building Expert Gives BS Advice. Now, that didn't sound too good, but anyway, I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. I drove all the way here to be in San Antonio, okay? Show of hands, how many of you have been to Hawaii? Wow, most of you, great. Well, when you think of Hawaii, you think of like white sandy beaches, blue ocean, surfers, hula dancers, coconut trees, and hula girls, right? But when you think of Hawaii, actually, Hawaii has hurricanes, tsunamis, and an active volcano, okay? Okay, so contrary to what you may have heard, in Hawaii, we do have indoor plumbing, and we do have internet service, okay? So this afternoon, I'm going to give you very good advice, and I offer sound advice. It's 90% sound, 10% advice. But I got like 8 hours of stuff I'm going to cram into probably 40 minutes, so I'll be talking really fast. Fresh out of college, I wanted to be a sewage treatment plant engineer, but the qualifications were, must be able to swim. So I said, forget it. So, years ago, buildings that were built, they never came with an owner's manual, right? So the early days of building owners and managers kind of like didn't really know what to do. They had to fend for themselves. And so I'm here to give you more information about building safety. I actually didn't drive here. I flew, and I went, on Delta. You know what Delta stands for? Right, but another one is don't expect luggage to arrive. Okay, so, and then, I don't always fly first class, because this last trip I actually flew in a no-class section. So, okay, so imagine a building that was like an airplane. Here's what the passenger announcement would sound like, okay? Attention, welcome folks. This is your building captain speaking. Thank you for coming to the San Antonio Rolling on the River Walk Hotel. As you enter the building, you will notice a slight floor level change. Be aware as our steps are uneven and may have shifted due to tree roots. In the event of an emergency and power is lost, the exit lights will go on. That is, if our building engineer remembered to fill our diesel tank with diesel for the emergency generator. In case of a water landing, also known as someone falling into the fountain, don't worry, because the water is treated with chlorine. It's safe to drink, but your hair will turn green. If we encounter turbulence, stay calm. It's probably a passing Category 5 hurricane. Thank you for visiting our hotel, Muchos Garcias and bonus nachos. Okay, well, you know what? Let's start. Okay, so anyway, I'm a national building expert, best-selling author, construction engineer. I'm interviewed in New York on the Times Square Today Show, giving more BS. Okay, I also have a book that just came out last month with Larry King. It hit the bestseller list, and I wrote a chapter on building safety. So how many in the audience like free stuff? Raise your hand. Okay, so you can actually download my book for free by going to my website, hawaiibuildingexpert.com. Scroll down to the bottom. You can click on and get yourself a free ebook. Actually, I'm Chinese, so when you're Chinese, the magic word is free. So I also actually have some books up here that I'm giving away free, but the autograph's $20. So anyway, last month I gave this same seminar in Hong Kong, and a very attentive audience, so I can speak Chinese, ni hao ma, fan hi lo, and that was my audience, okay? So I was insulted, especially because the guy in the front, he was my uncle, okay? All right, so lawsuits. We're here to talk a little bit about risk reduction, lawsuits, liability. Unsafe building conditions may lead to personal injury cases involving premises liability or general liability lawsuits. I've been an expert witness for 20 years. In order to qualify, I had to take a test. So I took an IQ test, and the results were negative. Okay. Some of the cases I worked on as an expert witness in Hawaii, International Marketplace, this is huge shopping center mall, slip and fall concrete was a multi-million-dollar claim. Why? Because the concrete was too slippery, they didn't have waterproofing. Waikiki condominium, the drain backed up. This is a hotel too. The drain backed up, and a lady that was a hotel guest slipped and fell on the floor, and that's another multi-million-dollar claim. So are you guys ready to have some fun? Okay, let's rock and roll. Okay, a lot of what I'm talking about today has to do with risk reduction and reducing liability, as I mentioned. I'm now taking a short survey, show of hands. How many building owners and managers here want more liability? Anybody? Okay, so good, we're all on the same page. Okay, let's talk about common area exterior. So you're walking around your building. Here's what to do. Look for big trees, weak tree branches, fallen leaves. Sometimes the leaves fall into a pile, nobody cleans it up, and it starts getting rotted and moldy, and someone could slip on it. Check your leaves on any kind of walkway path, make sure it's not slippery. Check out your walkway lighting. Okay, low walkway garden lighting is nice, creating that, certain romantic ambiance, but the lighting cannot be dim lighting, so dim where you're making the people actually walk in the dark. Okay? That is called dimwit lighting. Okay, this is not Halloween. Also, if your parking area has these high pole lights, look at the bases of the lights. Sometimes they're corroded. The bolts attached to concrete, if the bolts are rusted and corroded, you have a high wind, or because of the weight of the pole, the thing can come crashing down. Also, prevent water ponding on walkways due to excessive watering by irrigation sprinklers, rainwater, or melted snow. The photo on the left side is actually ponding due to poor drainage. The floor slab is not sloped to the drain, and as you can see, the water's collecting, doesn't even drain. Okay? This photo is from a major shopping center that touts millions of visitors a year. How many here from Hawaii? Nobody? Oh, okay. Then I can talk bad about the shopping center, right? All right, so the photo on the right side is a wood trellis of a hotel pool cabana. So imagine me going to the poolside bar and I can order a beer and some wood rot. Okay? Very unsafe. Parking lot and driveways. Watch out for potholes, cracks in the asphalt, cracks in the concrete, uplifting sections of the road, maybe due to tree roots or soil problems. Okay? Sometimes you have areas where the soil's bad. I think in Vegas they call it caliche. In Hawaii they call it adobe soil. But that type of soil is bad. When it gets wet, it actually expands, and when it dries, it contracts, so it cracks. And imagine having asphalt or concrete built right on top of that, and it starts cracking and moving. All right, faded paint. Sometimes the parking stalls paint's faded, and the people that aren't very good drivers end up parking in two stalls. That's not too safe, especially when someone else blocks you in and you can't get out. There was one case I worked on where someone slipped because they walked on the paint, and the lines of the paint were so thick and it became slippery, and they slipped and conked their head. Okay, install speed bumps if cars are driving too fast on your roadways. A church did that. The people were not driving fast to get to church. They're driving fast to get away from church. Okay. Speaking of church, I was at a dinner with real estate executives, and then a pastor was saying grace in a very soft voice, and a lady in the back said, "I can't hear you." And the pastor said, "I wasn't talking to you." Okay, walkways. Previous slide had a photo of like tree roots cracking the sidewalk, lifting it up. cracked lifted area, slippery surface, damage or lack of waterproofing. The proper pedestrian waterproofing has a non-skid or non-slip top coating. Okay, it's not smooth, it's not bare concrete. You know, sometimes you go to Costco and they polish the floors and they just buff it out and a concrete smooth like glass. Actually, that's the worst situation if it gets wet, very slippery. Okay, so the proper type of coating has aggregate, which is fine sand, mixed so when you walk on it, people don't slip and fall. Okay, so the photo on the left side is water ponding on a stair landing in a high traffic parking deck. So there's so much water when it rains, the person walking on the stairs has to step in the water to actually go up the stairs. Okay, and then the photo on the right, gutter downspout is causing water to flow onto the walkway. The other problem is lack of maintenance. No one pressure washes, so there's a buildup of slippery moss and algae growth. So the problem here is both poor design and lack of maintenance. Let's talk about windows. How many people here manage buildings that have windows in it? Anybody? Okay, so good. So sliders or jalousie windows, this is like for older buildings. They may be low in height and floor-to-ceiling construction. It's unsafe because it poses a child safety concern. Okay, also, loose glass panes, loose glass slats, water infiltration conditions from loose or damaged caulking, or corroded or rotted window frames. Check out the photo on the left. It's a hotel, and there's jalousies from floor to ceiling. So imagine if a kid fell through the 23rd floor off the window. So that's why it's unsafe. The code today, the building code, does not allow windows to be right at the floor, especially if it's open jalousies. If it's a fixed window, fine. If it's a casement window or a window that can be opened up, the code is you cannot have that space where the window opens more than 4 inches. And the photo on the right is a high-rise building that had water infiltration conditions. So I was called to inspect. So you know those lifts where the painters or other people, window cleaners, go on? So I go on that, and that's the only way I can inspect the windows from the outside. So you heard of Star Wars, Luke Skywalker? Well, people call me Luke Skyclimber. But that's the only way to check. All right, roofing. Roofs should be inspected every year, and then right after an event such as a storm, hurricane, tornado, snowstorm, hailstorm, high winds, or even a volcano. Okay, so if your building has asphalt shingles, look for damaged, missing shingles, cracks, tears. If it has commercial roof coating, look for worn coating, roof flashing problems, cracks around plumbing vents and penetrations. Also, look at your mechanical equipment on the roof. Many times I go up on the roof and I see like corroded exhaust fans, corroded air conditioning systems, and it's really bad. So pay attention to those items. Also, leaky roofs could cause mold and damage, asbestos issues if you have an older building. I have seen buildings where the ceiling caved in because of a roof leak and flooded the floors directly below. So how many of you manage like a wood frame building or anything like that? Okay, good. Old wood frame building, the roof was so bad, it was leaking for years. The water attracted ground termites that caused major structural damage. It was so bad, even the termites were wearing hard hats. That's how bad it was. Okay, but don't worry, the lead paint killed the termites, so we're good. So you know, sometimes you go to see movies and they show the pan shots of taken by a helicopter and you see all the rooftops. I think I saw Ocean's 8 and they had a section where they showed all the rooftops of New York buildings. Well, some of those roofs are in bad shape, you know. I checked them out. Okay, so let's talk about concrete issues, concrete spalling. Okay, so the definition of spalling is cracks in concrete as a result of rebar corrosion due to water infiltration. Rebar is reinforcing steel. Now, that's not a Wikipedia definition, that's a Wikipedia definition. But cracks, corroded rebar, two examples of dangerous conditions. Your building is so old or not maintained, you got cracks of concrete, and a chunk of concrete falls off the building and lands on somebody's head or a car. Not too safe, right? I had a situation where a falling piece landed on a car that was parked in the lobby in front of the building. And it cracked the hood and the glass. And guess what? That piece weighed only 8 pounds. But can you imagine an 8-pound piece of concrete falling off a 40-story building? Very dangerous. So when I went to Paris and visited the Notre Dame, I saw these scary gargoyles that were on the roof. You know what those are for? The gargoyles are actually connected to the gutter system. So when it rains, there's a gutter, and then the water, instead of draining through a drain pipe, it drains into the gargoyle, and then water shoots out of the gargoyle's mouth. See? Interesting, right? So anyway, the gargoyles on that building are getting cracked, and there's spalling issues. So I may go up there and go check it out. But anyway, in Paris, my wife bought me this T-shirt with the Eiffel Tower picture on it. And the tag said PRC, so I thought, great, I got a genuine souvenir from France, from a French fashion designer, Paris Rendezvous Club. So I was all excited, and then I looked at the tag again, and I realized that PRC stood for People's Republic of China. So I got this T-shirt from China with the Paris picture on it. So take a look at this. The photo on the left side is an apartment building made out of brick and CMU. And two men were leaning on it, and the whole wall collapsed, and both men got sent to the hospital. I inspected that building after the accident, and the entire building was a problem. Not only that wall, the entire building was cracked. No one paid attention to it. The photo on the right side, it's actually the bottom underside of a walkway, meaning the ceiling. So if you're standing on a walkway and you look up, that's what the ceiling looked like. Totally unsafe, corroded rebar, delaminated concrete. It made me start singing that, you know that hit song, Concrete Falling on My Head? Remember that one? Okay, so I should have brought my guitar. All right, let's talk about building. You write a letter and you stick it into that envelope and you seal it. The building envelope is the skin of the whole building, okay? So number one cause of building problems, water infiltration through the building envelope. Water gets into any kind of building material. Can you imagine that? Water can get into concrete, stucco, EIFS, which is exterior insulation finish system, or commonly known as synthetic stucco. Also, dissimilar construction materials where they're connected together may be sources of moisture or water mitigation or migration. For example, window frames to concrete, window glass to window frames, a window frame to a window frame. All those locations could have water going through those open joints. Also, trim to ceilings, lanai decks to stucco walls. Warrant paint and failed waterproofing does not protect the building. So, rule of thumb, you paint your building every 8 to 10 years, depending on the location, the condition, and all that. If your building is made mostly of glass, do you really need to paint it? Well, not really, but there may be still sections of concrete. But you need to pay attention to the caulking, because caulking doesn't last forever. So some buildings, like that high-rise building I told you I climbed on, to replace the caulking was $1 million, so it's not cheap. So let's talk a little about inspection and maintenance programs. Your maintenance program is key to keeping the building safe and well-maintained. Important to an effective maintenance program is a list of building components. Areas of concern and frequency of attention. The task should be listed as completed daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, or whatever, according to the guidelines of the building. So a couple of topics would be housekeeping and maintenance, fire and life safety equipment, fire safety plan, emergency generator, building plans, make sure you have a copy of those at the building, inspection reports, inspection procedure, building and equipment maintenance logs, warranty files with contact information of contractors and service providers. In an emergency, you don't want to Google Yelp to find the nearest flood remediation contractor. You want to have that available. Also, fire alarm system, electrical room, gas heater room. Make sure that in your buildings, people aren't storing combustible materials such as paint, solvent, and those kind of things in an electrical room or a room where there's a gas heater. So you can also get inspection and maintenance forms and software programs online. So here's some tips. You heard of the BOMA Outstanding Building of the Year program, right? Okay, so that program has a form with criteria that BOMA uses to judge building entries. You can download that form and use that form. There's also books from BOMA. One, Preventive Maintenance Guidebook, Best Practices to Maintain Efficient and Sustainable Buildings. Well, that's a long title, yeah? Shorter title, there's another book called Preventive Maintenance Guidebook to Exterior Maintenance. So those books could help. Actually, I'm writing a book now on that same subject. The title may be called The Idiot's Guide to Being a Slumlord or Slumlording for Dummies, okay? So here's the kicker. You just read the book, read my recommendations, and you do the opposite, then you're okay. So remember to not just follow the guidelines and programs, but if you see something that needs to be added or tweaked to your list to make things better, do that. Don't just go by that printed form. Okay, so just change it as you need to. Review your maintenance programs often to protect guests and occupants. Establish a solid building inspection protocol. If you need outside help, ask for it. Hire experts, hire building consultants, hire engineers, whatever. Ask them questions. You know, people call me all the time, email me, ask for advice. I don't mind helping them, giving them advice. Okay, so this applies to not only building owners, but home and community associations as well. So there's a whole nother market of residential homeowner association management, and they basically follow the same thing. So how many of you have heard of PCA? Anybody? Okay, some of you, good. That stands for Property Condition Assessment. And what that is a professional going out and inspecting the building, making a inspection report. And usually that's done if someone's buying the building, leasing the whole building, or they're getting financing and the bank requires that. Also, rare occasions, a building owner wants to have one done just for maintenance purposes. Now, there's ASTM E2018. That's a criteria that governs that inspection assessment report. There's also what's called FCA, which is a facility condition assessment. And that you can do on your own, in your own building. And then how many here have kids? Okay, good. So there's another inspection called the KRCA. It's a kids' room condition assessment. Okay, so when you go back home, you can tell your kids, clean your room. I heard a building expert talk about this, and I'm following the criteria. Okay, so good. Let's talk a little about stairways. One of the top defects in a slip and fall lawsuit involving stairways is due to uneven riser heights. That's the vertical distance of the steps. So one step cannot be 7 inches in height and the other step 10 inches in height. It all has to be pretty much even, okay? Also look out for those loose hand railing or no hand railing, picket spacing, maybe too wide. the photo on the left, you see those big spaces there? That's not to code. So the building code doesn't allow more than 7-inch spacing between each picket. I mean, not 7, 4. So, you know the size of a tennis ball? People use those. And if the tennis ball can fit through, then that space is too wide. If it gets stuck, then you're okay. So it's 4 inches. So question, do you think any of these conditions pose a safety hazard? Yeah, okay, you're nodding your head. Do you think we need to call CSI to investigate? Okay, do you know what CSI stands for? In my definition, it's can't stand idiots. So the idiot that built that, I don't like. So do you think that if there was an accident and somebody fell from any of those steps, that they could sue and win? Yeah. By the way, that photo on the right is of a hotel in San Clemente. And the railing, the hand railing was loose and the top step was too high. How do I know? I was taking luggage up and I had a hard time. Okay? Oh, also, the other day I went around and visited the Riverwalk. Awesome Riverwalk. But they had some steps were different in elevation and they had cracks in concrete. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on vacation, I'm not working. So just to give you a heads up. Guard railing, very important to inspect guard railing at walkways, lanais, garden areas, parking decks. Check corrosion at the bases. The left side photo, the pickets are missing and some others that are there are rotted where the nail heads are. Okay. The photo on the right, cracked and spalled concrete with corroded railing. By the way, that photo on the right is of a 25-story condominium building. Okay, would you say this property is owned by a slumlord? Yes, I do. Okay, so in 2016, the news headline stated, and this is national news, 1 dead and 1 in critical condition after fall at shopping center. Metal railing gave way. Okay, 5 days later, the city building department issued a citation for rust and spalling found at the railings. So I inspected railing and concrete spalling. This is at the 7th largest shopping mall in the United States. It was a shopping mall in Honolulu, Hawaii. What caused the problem? Lack of inspection and proper maintenance. Okay, so bottom line is inspect and protect. So here we go. I'm switching. Welcome to my Railing 101 class. Okay, railing installation. There's 2 types of railing installation. One is a surface mounted where the railing base is mounted on the surface of your concrete or whatever, mostly concrete. The second type is embedded railing where there's a hole in the concrete and the railing post fits into that hole. Okay, so, but be careful because the second type, the contractor doesn't seal around the hole of the base of the railing post, and now there's a dip. So when it rains, water fills up, and guess what? The railing starts corroding. Okay? So, if they do it that way, that's a faux pas, right? What does faux pas mean in French? Fake dad. So, you know that condition that I just talked about? This convention center has that. If you walk that way and there's a lanai, if you look at the railing, the bases are corroded. Guess what? I don't think they want me here, but that's okay. Okay, so rainwater, corrosion, salt air, smog, acid rain. Hawaii has VOG, which is volcanic smog, and that's a contributory condition to corrosion. Okay, so look for signs of corrosion at the railing bases, bolts, brackets. Railing posts may be corroded, distorted paint, peeling paint. You know, grab the railing. Well, maybe you shouldn't do it, but have the maintenance guy, hey, grab the railing and shake it around. If the railing falls over, hey, maybe a problem. Okay. Electrical systems could cause a fire. Make sure that, see, electrical systems, they don't last forever. So you need to have your main distribution inspected. Not by the maintenance guy or the building engineer, but hire a licensed engineering company that does these types of inspections. They do load testing, visual testing, and all that. Ask them what the protocol is. Sometimes tenants want to do their own upgrades. They add in electrical things. They bring in more air conditioning without telling you. And they have wiring inside their tenant spaces that look like octopus and numerous power strips and all that. That's not safe. Okay? So if the building is old, make sure you have the electrical inspected. Yeah. What happens when there's a total power outage? Everything goes. Okay? So imagine if it's a hotel or an occupied huge office building and there's no power. Emergency generator doesn't work. You're done for that day. Okay? So you guys are all paying attention, which is good. I went to a seminar once and I sat in the back next to this old guy, and he's telling me, you know, that speaker's so boring, my butt fell asleep. And I said, I know, I heard it snoring. Okay, so have you heard of OSHA? Okay, OSHA is a government entity that's responsible for safety of your building. Is that true? Me? Okay, so here's a question. How many of you think OSHA is responsible for safety of your building? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you think OSHA is responsible for safety of the workers in your building? Raise your hand. Okay, great. You know what? OSHA is responsible for actually both. But if you're working in an office and you're an office worker or you're a building manager, OSHA is not responsible for your safety. Now, if you have a maintenance guy that's doing work or you hire an outside contractor, they fall under OSHA rules. Now, OSHA is getting stricter, so I would suggest doing a little research because they're more responsible than you think. So, all right, so how many here are responsible for like a building engineer or building maintenance people? Oh, okay. And the rest of you, what? You don't have any responsibility, or you don't care, or you fell asleep? Okay, good. So we talked about OSHA. All right. Some of you here may not have been born at that time, but in the 70s, okay? In the 70s, we had Richard Nixon, Johnny Cash, and Bob Hope. Today we have Donald Trump, no cash and no hope. All right, so plumbing system, corroded supply piping, drinking water. Photo on the right side is a copper supply pipe. That's where you get your water from. Guess what? It was corroded and leaking. Okay, no fun. The photo on the left is a drain pipe and corroded and leaking. So I investigate all these kind of piping. Failing piping leads to insurance claims, mold issues, damaged building components. It's not good when you're in a 40-story building and the pipe on the 39th floor starts leaking and it leaks all the way down to the ground. And guess what? It's not clean water. It's wastewater from the toilet. So can you imagine how big of an insurance claim that is? It's like millions. So that's why the value of top floor units and penthouse units are more valuable because no one above you can have pipes that leak, right? Okay, so what do you do when the pipes are clogged? Simple, use dynamite. All right, so let's move along here. Oh, all right, I'm starting up a new company. I have a slogan. It's a drain cleaning company, so there's 2 names to choose from. So I need your help. We're gonna take a hand vote. Casino plumbing, where a royal flush beats a full house. How many like that? Okay, the next, drains are us. We're number 1 in the number 2 business. How many for 1? How many for 2? How many don't give a crap? All right, let's move on. Fire safety. Oh, this is scary. Photo on the left. Huge high-rise fire, the biggest fire ever in Honolulu, Hawaii. 4 people got killed, a 5th person died later. The middle photo, London, 70-something people died, and the right was in Las Vegas. So the one in the middle, well, the one on the right was the fire started during building construction. The other 2 people were actually living there. Okay, so the photo on the left is Marco Polo building, high rise. It had no sprinkler systems. If it had sprinklers, I think people would have still be alive today. So, very important for fire safety to check your fire pump, sprinkler system, fire alarm system, wet and dry standpipes, and other life safety components. You know what? I have a small company, but every morning I have a staff meeting, and I tell the workers, do not talk to me until I have my coffee. And then I never get coffee. Okay, common area, interior. Flooring, look for slip and fall conditions. A lot of times, if the building's older, it could have asbestos or hazmat conditions. There's asbestos, 9x9 floor tile, there's mastic, there's drywall, tape joint mud that could have it, there's pipe lagging that could have asbestos, there's, in an older building, there's drywall that's called transite, and that's asbestos containing, so be careful. Popcorn ceiling, the dreaded 4-letter word is mold, but you guys all manage like new buildings, right? Not old ones. So if you manage older buildings, get rid of those accounts and just get new ones, and you don't have to worry about the hazmat conditions. Okay, building fire codes. There's a bunch of codes. International Building Code, National Electrical Code, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. They write both fire code and the electrical code. There's like many other codes. In a given building, there could be like 20 different codes that you need to comply with. But these are just some of the general ones. The AHU means authority having jurisdiction. You know what that means? That's your local or state governing body, building department or agency that can come in and issue citations. Okay, so keep in mind that the building codes are minimum standards. The code only mandates minimum building standards. So you as building managers and owners should start to exceed those codes. It's very important, because if there's an accident and somebody investigates it and determines that that condition that caused the accident is a building code violation, then you practically lost the case, because the building code is the authority. Okay. Last month I was in San Francisco, inspected the Millennium Tower. You ever heard of that building? It's actually leaning. I walked around. It's a whole city block, and there was a strange odor coming from the side of the building that wasn't leaning. So I'm thinking it could be like a broken pipe causing the fumes or something like that. So it's pretty scary. I'm not sure how they're going to fix it. So my message today is safety first. That's the word according to Luke. So I ask each and every one of you the big question: is your building safe? You have been a fantastic audience. As we say in Hawaii, mahalo, and thank you very much. Okay, I actually finished early, and I didn't talk too fast, right? But I finished early on purpose because I wanted to be sure I could be here and answer whatever questions you guys have. You have a live construction engineer, national expert right here. So now is your chance to ask whatever questions you have, comments, whatever. We're open. Ken in the back there has a microphone, and feel free. Now's your chance. Go for it. Because otherwise, if you call me up and want to hire me, it's like $350 an hour. Right now, you're getting it free. So go for it. Oh, by the way, does this suit make me look fat? Okay, because what happened is my wife told me that my winter fat turned into summer rolls. So Anybody have questions? I did such a good job. Oh, okay, before I forget, I saw some of you folks taking photos. If you go to the BOMA website and you look under my seminar, there's a PowerPoint that you can download. So you can download that and yeah, so you can have it free. Question in the front here? Yes.
You mentioned that you have a couple books. What are the books that you brought today?
Oh, I didn't bring my first one. I brought the second one. It's called The Big Question. And there's a chapter on building safety, chapter 8. There's like 20-something people that wrote chapters with Larry King. I had to fill out this whole form, and they asked, are you a convicted criminal? You know, and all that stuff before you're selected. So thank you for asking. I don't know if you guys got the word, but I'm not selling the book. But since you asked the first question, you get a free book after, okay? I'll even autograph it. That's $20. Any other questions? Did you guys learn something today? Okay. Do you think I should be back next year giving the same talk or maybe a different talk? I actually go and speak around the country and give seminars, talks, and whatnot. This one is exciting for me because I didn't get paid. It's free. So, okay, so we still got a little more time. I inspected a bank one time, and the bank is all marble floor, marble ceilings, and all that. And while I was there, a robber actually ran in and held the bank up, and there was a security guard, and then the robber got his cash, and his mask fell down. So he goes to the guard, says, did you see my face? And the guard said, yes. And the robber says, bang, and shot the security guy. And so the robber turns to the lady and says, lady, did you see my face? And the lady said, no, but my husband did. That wasn't my wife, by the way. Okay, I got another one. Okay, so I'm on a roll here. Okay, so a taxi driver and a pastor, they die and they go to heaven, right? So at the pearly gates, they meet St. Peter, and St. Peter says, you know, welcome, let me show you your accommodation. So he takes the cab driver and he says, here's your room. And it was this huge penthouse suite with free honor bar, free maid service, and it was huge, you know, for millionaires. And so the cab driver says, oh, wow, this is great. So he turns to the pastor and said, and this is your room. And the pastor looked at it, and it was like a closet with nothing there except a bed. And the pastor says, I don't believe this. St. Peter, you know, I've been a pastor for 38 years, and all I get is this small room, and the cab driver gets this huge suite. And St. Peter said, in heaven we go by production. While you preach, people slept. While he drove, people prayed. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I did too. Thank you very much.